My sister got a new house for her birthday. I got a broken basement. My mom smirked, "Be grateful." I quietly started to fix it. A week later, my parents showed up at my basement demanding. I'm 28 years old, and I've spent most of my life being second place to my older sister, Madison. She's the golden child, the favorite, the one who can do no wrong in our parents' eyes. Me? I'm Jennifer, the disappointment who chose a real job over marrying rich like Madison did. Last month was Madison's 30th birthday, and our parents threw her the party of the century. 200 guests, a live band, champagne fountain, the works. The grand finale? They handed her the keys to a fully renovated 4-bedroom house in the nicest suburb in town. Paid in full. I watched as Madison squealed and hugged our parents while everyone applauded. Our mom had tears of joy streaming down her face. 3 days later was my birthday. No party. No guests. Just an awkward dinner at a chain restaurant where the waiter forgot to bring out my appetizer. After we finished eating, my dad slid an envelope across the table. For a moment, I felt hopeful. Maybe they'd gotten me something meaningful this time. Inside was a single key and a handwritten note with an address I didn't recognize. "What's this?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's your birthday gift," Mom said with a tight smile. "We got you a basement apartment. It's not much, but it's yours." I stared at the key. A basement apartment? "Well, Madison got the house because she's married and starting a family," Dad explained, not meeting my eyes. "You're single, so you don't need as much space. Plus, this will help you save money since you're always complaining about rent." I never complained about rent. Not once. But I nodded because that's what I always did. "Can I see it?" I asked. Mom waved her hand dismissively. "It needs a little work, but nothing you can't handle. You've always been so independent and resourceful." That should have been my first warning. The next day, I drove to the address. It was in an older part of town, not terrible but definitely not where Madison's house was. I found the building, a worn-down duplex with peeling paint. My parents didn't own this building, they'd arranged with the actual owner, an elderly man named Mr. Peterson, to let me have the basement unit. Apparently, they paid him a year's rent up front as my gift, though the main floor apartment had a regular tenant. The basement had been vacant for years due to its condition. The smell hit me first. Mold and dampness and something else I couldn't identify. I flicked the light switch. Nothing. I used my phone flashlight to navigate down the concrete steps. The door stuck, and I had to shove it hard with my shoulder. What I saw made my stomach drop. The basement was a disaster. Water damage stained the walls in dark patches. The concrete floor had cracks running through it like spider webs. There was no kitchen, just a rusty utility sink in the corner. The bathroom door hung at an angle, and when I pushed it open, I found a toilet that looked like it hadn't worked in years and a shower stall filled with black mold. There were 2 rooms separated by a partial wall that didn't reach the ceiling. One had a broken window covered with cardboard. The other had exposed wiring hanging from the ceiling. The whole place was maybe 500 square feet of pure neglect. I called my parents immediately. "Mom, this place is uninhabitable. There's mold everywhere, the wiring is dangerous, and I don't even think the plumbing works." "Oh, Jennifer, you're being dramatic," she sighed. "It just needs a little cleaning and some paint. You should be grateful we gave you anything at all. Do you know how much Madison's house cost us? But this place needs thousands of dollars in repairs just to be safe to live in. Then fix it yourself. You make good money at that job you're so proud of. Madison would never complain like this. She appreciates what we do for her." "Madison got a house, Mom. A whole house. And she deserves it. She made better choices than you did. Maybe if you'd focused on finding a husband instead of your career, you'd be in a better position too." I heard Dad mumbling agreement in the background. "Be grateful you got anything," Mom added, her voice sharp now. "Some parents wouldn't give their adult children a thing." Then she hung up. I stood in that moldy basement, phone still pressed to my ear, and something inside me shifted. For 28 years, I'd accepted being second best. I'd swallowed every comparison, every slight, every moment of obvious favoritism. I told myself it didn't matter, that I was fine, that I didn't need their validation. But standing there in what was essentially a condemned basement while my sister enjoyed her palace, I realized I was done. I was done accepting crumbs and being told to be grateful. I was done pretending this was normal or okay. If they wanted to give me a broken basement, fine. But I was going to do something they never expected. I left and spent the rest of the day at the library researching tenant rights, building codes, and property law. That evening, I drove back with a notepad and documented everything. Every code violation, every hazard, every structural issue. I took hundreds of photos and videos. The exposed wiring. The mold. The broken window. The cracked foundation. The non-functioning utilities. Then I did something else. I looked up who actually owned the building. The deed was in the name of Harold Peterson, an 82-year-old man who'd owned it for 30 years. I found his number and called him. Mr. Peterson? My name is Jennifer. My parents arranged for me to stay in your basement unit. Oh yes, he said, his voice tired. They paid me for a year up front. Said their daughter needed a place. I told them it needed work, but they insisted it was fine. Mr. Peterson, did you know the basement has black mold and code violations? There was a long pause. I knew it needed repairs. My wife and I used to rent it out years ago, but after she passed, I couldn't keep up with maintenance. Your parents said you were handy and would fix it up yourself. My stomach turned. They'd lied to him too. Mr. Peterson, the city cited this property for violations 3 years ago. Did you know that? What? No, I don't understand. I never got any notices. They may have gone to a different address. Mr. Peterson, this property could be condemned. You could face serious fines. He sounded panicked now. I'm on a fixed income. I can't afford fines. Your parents said everything was taken care of. I felt bad for him. He was just another victim of my parents' schemes. Mr. Peterson, I'm going to help you. But I need you to trust me. Over the next few days, I worked with Mr. Peterson. He gave me access to all his property records. That's when I discovered the full picture. My parents had been managing this property for him for years, supposedly handling tenant issues and maintenance. They'd been collecting rent, taking a management fee, and doing absolutely nothing to maintain the place. When the city violations came, they'd hidden them from him. They'd basically been defrauding an elderly man while letting his property deteriorate. Then I called an inspector friend from college, Derek, who owed me a favor. He came out the next day. Jen, this place should be condemned, he said, shaking his head as he examined the electrical panel. The wiring alone is a fire hazard. And this mold? That's black mold. It's toxic. Nobody should be living here. Can you write that up officially? You planning to report someone? Something like that. Derek handed me a full inspection report 2 days later. It listed 23 code violations, including several that posed immediate danger to human health and safety. I made copies of everything and put together a file. Then I did something else. I started making phone calls. My parents owned 3 rental properties in addition to their own home. I'd heard them talk about their investment portfolio for years, how smart they were with real estate. I contacted the building department and requested inspection records for all their properties. Turns out, that basement wasn't the only problem they had. Code enforcement had cited them twice in the past 3 years for violations at their other rentals. They'd done quick patch jobs to avoid fines but never really fixed anything properly. I compiled all of this information into a detailed report. Then I waited. But waiting didn't mean doing nothing. I spent the next few days doing more research, digging deeper into my parents' property dealings. What I found was illuminating in the worst way possible. They'd bought that duplex with a basement apartment 8 years ago. According to public records, they'd rented it out for 6 years to various tenants at premium prices, despite the deteriorating conditions. Then, 3 years ago, a tenant had complained to the city about mold and electrical issues. My parents had been cited and forced to vacate the unit. They'd never fixed it. They just let it sit there, rotting, accumulating violations and fines they kept appealing and delaying. When those delays ran out and the city was about to impose serious penalties, they suddenly decided to gift it to me. It wasn't a gift. It was a liability dump. They were literally trying to transfer their legal problems onto me, probably hoping I'd sink money into fixing it without realizing what they'd done. Or maybe they thought I'd just accept it and they could claim they'd given the property to family, avoiding some of the penalties. The calculation of it took my breath away. This wasn't just favoritism or thoughtlessness. This was deliberate. They'd looked at their problem property and thought, let's give this to Jennifer. She's so desperate for our approval she'll take it and thank us. I sat in my apartment that night, staring at the documents spread across my coffee table, and felt something shift inside me. It wasn't anger anymore. It was clarity. Cold, perfect clarity about exactly who my parents were and what I meant to them. Rachel came over that evening with wine and takeout. She took one look at my face and said, "Okay, what happened?" I showed her everything. The records, the complaints, the timeline, what they'd done to Mr. Peterson. She read through it all, her expression growing darker. "Jenny, this is fraud. They were trying to make you responsible for their legal violations. And they've been stealing from an old man." "I know. You could report this. Like, criminally report this." I'd thought about it. I'd spent hours thinking about it. I could. But that's not what I'm going to do. What are you going to do? I'm going to beat them at their own game. They think I'm desperate and stupid enough to accept their garbage and fix it for them? Fine. I'll fix it. But not for them. Rachel leaned back, studying me. You've got that look. That scary, determined look you had when you taught yourself coding in 3 months just to prove your dad wrong about STEM careers. That wasn't spite. That was perseverance. It was spite-fueled perseverance. There's a difference. So what's the plan? I explained what I was thinking. The renovations, the documentation, the leverage I was building. Rachel listened, occasionally nodding or asking questions. It's risky, she said finally. It's going to cost you money you might not get back. I know. But I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this because I'm done being their doormat. I'm done accepting less and pretending it's enough. What about Madison? She's going to get caught in the crossfire. That had been weighing on me. Madison is a victim too, even if she doesn't see it yet. They love her, but only as long as she's performing for them. Being pretty, being married, being their trophy. What happens when she can't maintain that? What happens when she gets older or gains weight or her marriage falls apart? You think her marriage is in trouble? I shrugged. I think any marriage built on the foundation my parents laid is probably shaky. But even if it's not, Madison is living in a cage. It's a prettier cage than mine, but it's still a cage. Maybe what I'm about to do will help her see that. Rachel raised her glass. Well, I'm here for whatever you need. Moral support, manual labor, bail money. Let's hope it doesn't come to bail money. With your parents? I'm not ruling anything out. Meanwhile, I made another decision. I started fixing the basement myself, but not to live in it. I had a different plan. I hired a crew to handle the dangerous stuff, the electrical and the mold remediation. It cost me $3,000 I've been saving for a vacation. Then I spent my evenings and weekends doing the rest. I patched walls, painted, fixed the bathroom. I replaced the broken window and installed actual lighting. I tiled the bathroom floor. I even built a small kitchenette area with a hot plate and mini fridge. My best friend, Rachel, thought I was crazy. Why are you putting money into this place? Just walk away. Trust me, I told her. This is part of something bigger. 1 week after I started the renovations, I was painting the second room when I heard pounding on the door. I opened it to find my parents standing there, both red-faced and furious. What the hell do you think you're doing? Dad demanded, pushing past me into the basement. Mom followed, looking around with wide eyes. You can't make changes to this property without our permission. I set down my paint roller calmly. I was fixing up my birthday gift. You know, being resourceful like you said. Don't get smart with us, Mom snapped. We got a notice from the city. Someone reported code violations on this property. They're threatening to fine us $15,000 and revoke our rental license. Was that you? I didn't answer directly. Did you know this basement had black mold? That the electrical system was one spark away from burning down the building? That the foundation has structural damage? That's none of your business, Dad said. Actually, it became my business when you gave me this death trap as a birthday present and told me to be grateful for it. Mom's face went pale, then flushed with anger. You ungrateful little bitch. After everything we've done for you. Everything you've done for me? I laughed, and it felt good. You gave Madison a $200,000 house. You gave me a condemned basement and told me to fix it myself. Those aren't the same thing, Mom. Madison deserves nice things, she hissed. She's a good daughter. She doesn't cause problems or embarrass us with her choices. Right. Because working hard and supporting myself is so embarrassing compared to marrying a man for his money. Dad stepped forward, pointing his finger at me. You need to withdraw that complaint to the city. Today. Or there will be consequences. What consequences? Will you love me even less? Will you find more ways to show me I don't matter? I'm already at the bottom, Dad. There's nowhere lower for me to go in this family. If you don't withdraw it, we're taking back this property, Mom said. And we'll make sure everyone knows what a spiteful, jealous person you are. I crossed my arms. Fine. Take it back. I never wanted it anyway. But that complaint isn't going away, and here's why. I walked to my bag and pulled out a folder, handing it to them. That's documentation of every code violation and all your rental properties. The city is very interested in landlords who knowingly rent unsafe properties to tenants. Especially when those landlords ignore repeated citations. Dad flipped through the papers, his face going from red to white. There's also documentation of how this basement hasn't been legally habitable for at least 5 years, but you try to give it to me as a gift. That looks a lot like you trying to dump a problem property on your own daughter to avoid responsibility. You can't prove that, Mom whispered. Actually, I can. I have the deed transfer documents you gave me. I have text messages where I told you about the conditions and you told me to just deal with it. I have the timeline of when the city cited your other properties. And I have testimony from 3 of your current tenants about unsafe living conditions. I'd spent the week talking to their tenants. Turned out I wasn't the only one they'd been screwing over. What do you want? Dad asked quietly. I want you to leave me alone. I want you to fix your properties properly and stop being slumlords. And I want you to understand that I'm not your scapegoat anymore. What about Madison? Mom asked, her voice shaking. Are you going to ruin her birthday gift too? Madison has nothing to do with this. She didn't choose to be the favorite any more than I chose to be the disappointment. This is between you and me. Dad's hands were trembling. The fines. We could lose everything. Then I suggest you hire a good contractor and fix your properties. You have the money. You just spent $200,000 on Madison's house. Surely you can afford to make your rentals safe. Mom looked like she wanted to hit me. You're destroying this family. No, Mom. I'm just refusing to be destroyed by it anymore. They stormed toward the door, but Dad turned back. You know what your problem is, Jennifer? You've always been jealous. Even when you were little, you couldn't stand seeing Madison happy. Is that what you tell yourself? I asked. That I'm just jealous? Not that you showed blatant, consistent favoritism for my entire life? Not that you valued her over me at every single opportunity? We treated you both fairly, Mom said, but her voice wavered. Really? Let's talk about fair. When I graduated college with honors, you took me to Applebee's. When Madison graduated, you threw her a party at the country club. When I got my first promotion, you said that's nice and changed the subject. When Madison got engaged, you cried happy tears for an hour. When I bought my first car with money I saved, you criticized my choice. When Madison's husband bought her a car, you posted about it on Facebook for a week. Those situations were different, Dad said weakly. They were exactly the same, except for which daughter was involved. I kept thinking maybe I was being sensitive, maybe I was imagining it. But this? I gestured around the basement. This made it crystal clear. You gave her a house and me a biohazard, and you expected me to smile and thank you. That's not fair, Dad. That's not even close to fair. Mom's face was red. Madison needed more help. She's starting a family. Madison is 30 years old and married to a millionaire. I'm 28, single, and supporting myself. If anything, I needed more help. But you know what? I didn't need help. I needed parents who saw me as equal to my sister. I needed to matter as much as she did. Apparently, that was too much to ask. You matter to us, Mom whispered, but even she didn't sound convinced. No, I don't. And you know what? That's okay. I'm done needing you to care. I'm done competing for scraps of attention and affection. You can keep Madison on her pedestal. I'll keep my self-respect. The silence that followed was heavy. Dad opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. When did you become so cold? The same day you gave me a condemned building and told me to be grateful for it. The same day I realized my parents would rather dump their legal problems on me than treat me like I mattered. We didn't, Mom started. You did. I have the records, Mom. The city complaints from 3 years ago, the violations, the fines you were avoiding. This wasn't a gift. It was you using me to clean up your mess. You thought I was desperate enough for your approval that I'd take it and fix everything without asking questions. Dad's face went pale. They hadn't expected me to dig that deep. Get out, I said quietly. Fix your properties. Pay your fines. And leave me alone. They left without another word. I stood in that basement, the one I'd spent a week transforming from a disaster into something livable, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Power. Control. Freedom. Over the next month, things got interesting. My parents did fix their properties, but it cost them nearly $50,000 to bring everything up to code. They had to take out a loan. They stopped speaking to me entirely, which honestly was a relief. Madison called me, crying. Mom and Dad said you got them in trouble with the city. They said you're trying to ruin them financially. How could you? Madison, did they tell you about the basement they gave me for my birthday? They said it needed some work. It needed to be demolished. It was full of black mold and fire hazards. They gave you a mansion and gave me a liability, then told me to be grateful. There was silence on the other end. Then, quietly, I didn't know it was that bad. I know you didn't. This isn't about you, Mads. It's about them treating me like garbage and expecting me to smile and say thank you. But now they're struggling financially because of the fines and repairs. They're struggling because they were negligent landlords who put tenants in danger. I just made sure they couldn't ignore it anymore. Madison hung up. I didn't hear from her for 2 weeks. During that time, something unexpected happened. Mr. Peterson called me, his voice shaky. "Jennifer, I've been thinking. I'm too old to deal with this property anymore. All this stress with the violations, learning what your parents did. I just want to be done with it. Would you be interested in buying it?" "Mr. Peterson, I don't know if I can afford. I'll sell it to you for a fair price, below market given all the issues. You've been honest with me, helped me understand what was happening. I'd rather sell to someone I can trust." We negotiated for a week. With the code violations and needed repairs, he agreed to sell me the entire duplex for $60,000 less than market value. It would stretch my finances, but with a rental income from both units once fixed, it would work. I bought it. With the basement fully renovated and the main floor in decent shape, I had a duplex. I moved into the main floor apartment. It was actually nice, with hardwood floors and big windows and a functional kitchen. The basement apartment, the one I poured $3,000 and countless hours into, I listed for rent. I got 30 applications in 2 days. I chose a single mother named Elena who worked as a nurse and needed something affordable close to the hospital. When I showed her the basement apartment, her eyes lit up. "This is perfect," she said. "Are you sure the rent is this low?" "I'm sure. I just want a good tenant who'll take care of the place." She moved in a week later. I set the rent at exactly what I was paying at my old apartment, affordable but enough to cover the mortgage and maintenance. 2 months after the inspection incident, I got a letter from my parents' attorney. They wanted to sue me for defamation and tortious interference. I forwarded it to my own lawyer, who laughed. "They have no case," he said. "You reported legitimate code violations. That's not defamation, it's public safety. And you didn't interfere with their business, you exposed their illegal practices. If anything, they should be grateful you didn't push for criminal charges." 2 months after the inspection incident, I got a letter from my parents' attorney. They wanted to sue me for defamation and tortious interference. I forwarded it to my own lawyer, who laughed. "They have no case," he said. "You reported legitimate code violations. That's not defamation, it's public safety. And you didn't interfere with their business, you exposed their illegal practices. If anything, they should be grateful you didn't push for criminal charges." The lawsuit never materialized. But something else did. About a week after the legal threat, I started getting calls from family members. Aunt Linda called first, my mom's sister. "Jennifer, honey, what's going on with your parents? Your mother called me in tears saying you've turned on the family." I gave her the abbreviated version, the basement, the violations, the favoritism. There was a long pause. "Your mother said you were upset about Madison's birthday gift and retaliated by filing false complaints." "They weren't false complaints, Aunt Linda. The basement had black mold and exposed wiring. The city inspector documented 23 violations. I can send you the report if you want." Another pause. "That doesn't sound like nothing that needs some work." "That's what I said." "And Madison really got a whole house?" "A 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in Riverside Estates. Fully paid off." "Jesus," Aunt Linda muttered. "I knew your mom favored Madison, but I thought she'd mellowed over the years. That surprised me." "You knew?" "Honey, everyone knew. It was obvious from the time you were both little. Madison was the pretty one, the charming one. You were the smart one, which your mother seemed to take as a personal insult for some reason. She's always been weird about intelligence in women, thinks it makes them unmarriageable or something. But I didn't realize it was this bad. It's been this bad for 28 years. I just finally stopped accepting it." "Good for you," Aunt Linda said firmly. "Don't let them guilt you. You did the right thing. Those properties should have been fixed years ago. My friend Diane rented from them for a while, and the horror stories she told me." We talked for another hour. She told me things I hadn't known, ways my mother had talked about me behind my back, comparing me unfavorably to Madison at family gatherings I hadn't been invited to. It hurt, but it also validated everything I'd felt. After Aunt Linda, my cousin Marcus called. Then my grandmother on my dad's side. Then my Uncle Robert. The story my parents were telling was falling apart as people reached out to me and heard my side. Not everyone believed me. Uncle Tom, my dad's brother, called me vindictive and said I should respect my elders. Cousin Patricia said I was tearing the family apart over jealousy. But more people than I expected were supportive, or at least willing to listen. The family fracture my mother had predicted was happening, but not the way she'd intended. Instead of everyone turning against me, people were taking sides. Some defended my parents. Others questioned things they'd noticed over the years but never addressed. A few admitted they'd seen the favoritism but hadn't said anything because it wasn't their business. Madison stayed silent through all of it. She didn't call me, didn't defend me, didn't defend our parents. Radio silence. I focused on the basement apartment. Elena, my tenant, was settling in well. She decorated with plants and soft lighting, transforming the space into something cozy. Seeing her happy there, seeing her daughter do homework at the table I'd installed, made all the work worth it. You know, Elena said one evening when I stopped by to fix a leaky faucet, my last landlord wouldn't even return my calls when something broke. You fix this in an hour. It's just a washer replacement. Pretty simple fix. Maybe, but you still did it. And you did it fast. You're a good landlord, Jennifer. I'm lucky to have found this place. It struck me then, the difference between what my parents did and what I was trying to do. They saw their tenants as income, as means to an end. I saw Elena as a person who deserved a safe, comfortable home. It wasn't complicated. It was just basic human decency. Thanks, Elena. I'm lucky to have you as a tenant. You take good care of the place. She smiled. It's easy to take care of something when you can tell the owner actually cares about it. After I left Elena's apartment, I sat in my car for a while, thinking. My phone buzzed. It was Rachel. Hey, are you okay? I heard your Uncle Tom is going around calling you ungrateful. Yeah, I heard. It's fine. It's not fine. He's being an ass. Rachel, he's always been an ass. He's just louder about it now. Besides, for every Uncle Tom, there's an Aunt Linda. It balances out. I guess. Hey, you want to come over? I made lasagna, and I have wine. We can talk shit about your family. I laughed. That's tempting, but I think I need a quiet night. Rain check? Anytime. Love you, Jenny. Love you too. I drove home, parked, and just sat there for a moment. The duplex looked good in the evening light. The repairs I'd made, the work I'd put in, it showed. This was mine. Not a gift with strings attached, not something given to make someone else look good. Mine, earned and paid for and maintained with my own hands. For the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely proud of something I'd accomplished. Not because anyone else validated it, but because I knew its worth. But the story wasn't over. 3 months in, I got a knock on my door. It was Madison, and she looked terrible. Her eyes were red, and she'd lost weight. Can I come in? She asked. I let her in, bracing myself for another guilt trip. Instead, she sat on my couch and started crying. Trevor left me, she said. Trevor was her husband, the rich one she'd married to please our parents. He said I'm too high maintenance. That I was only with him for his money. He wants a divorce and apparently, he had a prenup that gives me almost nothing. I didn't know what to say. I sat next to her and waited. And Mom and Dad. They're furious with me. They said I ruined it, that I must have done something wrong. They keep saying how much they spent on the wedding and the house, how I'm wasting their investment. Their investment? Madison looked at me with hollow eyes. That's what they called it. They said they invested in me, and I failed to deliver returns. The coldness of it struck me. Our parents really did see us as investments, not daughters. I don't know what to do, Madison whispered. The house is in my name, but I can't afford the property taxes or upkeep without Trevor. Mom and Dad won't help because they're still dealing with debt from fixing the rental properties. They said if I'd been a better wife, this wouldn't have happened. That's not true, Mads. If Trevor was going to leave, it's because of who he is, not who you are. She looked at me with surprise. You're not going to say I deserve this? Why would I say that? Because of how they've treated you. Because of the house and the basement and everything. I wouldn't blame you for hating me. I took a breath. I don't hate you, Madison. I never did. I hated how they treated us differently, but that wasn't your fault. You didn't ask to be the favorite any more than I asked to be the afterthought. She started crying harder. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't see it. I thought they loved us both, they just showed it differently. But you were right. They don't love us. They love what we can do for them, how we make them look. It was the first time Madison had ever acknowledged it. What are you going to do? I asked. I don't know. I can't afford the house. I'll have to sell it. And I don't have anywhere to go. I thought about the basement apartment. Elena was a dream tenant, but her lease was month to month. Then I thought about something else. What if you didn't sell the house right away? What if you rented it out? Madison blinked. Rent it? Yeah. It's a 4-bedroom house in a great neighborhood. You could get good money for it. Enough to cover the taxes and expenses and have left over to rent a smaller place for yourself. I never thought of that. Or, I said slowly, you could move into my 2nd bedroom temporarily. It's not much, but it's free while you figure things out. You could rent out the whole house and save up money to get on your feet. You'd let me stay here? After everything? Like I said, what happened between us wasn't your fault. And you're my sister. Despite everything, I don't want to see you homeless. Madison moved in the next week. It was awkward at first. We'd never been close, not really. But slowly, we started talking. Really talking, not just surface-level stuff. She told me about how our parents had controlled her whole life, choosing her clothes, her major in college, even introducing her to Trevor. She'd never made a real decision for herself. I told her about years of feeling invisible, about how every accomplishment I achieved was dismissed while her smallest actions were celebrated. We discovered we'd both been victims of our parents' toxicity in different ways. Madison listed her house for rent and got a corporate tenant willing to pay premium price for a 1-year lease. The income was enough to cover all expenses with $2,000 a month left over. She got a job at a marketing firm, her first real job ever. She started therapy. I watched my sister transform from a pampered dependent into someone with actual goals and agency. It was like seeing her for the first time. 4 months after Madison moved in, our parents reached out. Mom called Madison's phone, which she ignored. Then they showed up at my door. "We need to talk," Mom said, looking exhausted. I didn't invite them in. "About what?" "About this family falling apart," Dad said. "Madison won't return our calls. You've turned her against us." I didn't turn her against anyone. She made her own choices. "She's living with you, working some dead-end job, renting out the house we gave her," Mom said, her voice rising. "You've ruined her life." "No, Trevor ruined her life. Or maybe you did by treating her like a show dog instead of a daughter. I'm just giving her a place to land while she figures out who she actually is." "We want to see her," Dad demanded. "That's up to Madison, not me. You can't keep us from our daughter." Madison appeared behind me. "Actually, she can't, but I can. I don't want to see you." Mom's face crumpled. "Madison, honey, we're your parents. We love you." "No, you don't," Madison said, her voice steady. "You love the idea of me, the version that made you look good. But you never loved me, the real me. Just like you never loved Jennifer. We were just props in your perfect family fantasy." "That's not true," Mom whispered. "It is true. When Trevor left, you blamed me. You called me a failure and a waste of your money. What parent says that to their child? And Jennifer, do you know she's 2 years younger than me, but you've made her feel like she's been chasing me her whole life? You pitted us against each other from the start." Dad shifted uncomfortably. "We were upset. We said things we didn't mean." "No, you said things you absolutely meant. And you know what? I'm done. I'm done trying to be what you want. I'm done living my life for your approval. Jennifer figured that out years ago. I'm just sorry it took me this long." "So you're choosing her over us?" Mom asked, tears streaming down her face. "I'm choosing myself," Madison said. "For the first time ever, I'm choosing myself." My parents left. We never heard from them again beyond a brief, formal email about holiday plans we didn't respond to. A year later, Madison and I were sitting in the living room of my duplex on a Saturday morning. She'd saved enough money to get her own place but decided to rent the basement apartment from me instead when Elena moved out to buy her own home. "It's weird," Madison said, sipping her coffee. "I spent my whole life in that big house feeling empty. Now I'm in a basement apartment and I've never felt more at home." "That's because it's yours. You chose it. You're paying for it with money you earned. It's not something someone gave you with strings attached." She smiled. "True. Speaking of which, I got that promotion at work." "Mads, that's amazing. Regional Marketing Director. 50% raise. Not bad for a dead-end job, right?" She laughed. I laughed too. Mom would choke on her wine if she knew. "Good." We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Madison asked, "Do you ever regret it? Turning them into the city, everything that happened after?" I thought about it. No. I regret that it had to happen that way. I regret that they chose pride over love, appearances over actually caring about us. But I don't regret standing up for myself. That basement they gave me was the best worst gift ever. How so? It showed me exactly who they were. And it led to all of this. I gestured around the apartment, meaning more than just the physical space. I meant us, the relationship Madison and I had built, the life I'd created on my own terms. Plus, I added with a grin, I got a duplex out of it. Not a bad return on a birthday present. Madison laughed. "You know what's funny? They gave you a broken basement and tried to make you feel worthless. Now you own property, I'm getting my life together, and they're the ones who are miserable. Karma's interesting like that." My phone buzzed. It was a message from Rachel. "Are you and Madison still coming to the barbecue tomorrow? Bring that potato salad you make." I showed Madison the message. "You want to go? To hang out with your friends and eat good food?" "Obviously. It struck me how much had changed. A year ago, Madison and I barely spoke. She lived in a house she couldn't afford with a husband who didn't love her, trying desperately to please parents who saw her as an investment. I was alone, invisible, accepting scraps. Now we were both free. We had a real relationship, the kind of sister bond I'd always wanted but never thought possible. We had our own lives, our own money, our own choices. And it all started with a broken basement and a choice to stop being grateful for crumbs. 6 months later, I was showing a potential tenant the main floor apartment when I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Later, I listened to the message. It was my father. "Jennifer, it's Dad. Look, your mother and I. We've been talking. We think maybe we overreacted to some things. We'd like to sit down and talk, work things out. Madison won't respond to us, but maybe you could. Maybe you could help us reconnect with her. We're still a family. Call me back." I deleted the message. Madison came upstairs as I was finishing showing the apartment. The potential tenant loved it and filled out an application on the spot. "Who was that on the phone?" Madison asked after the tenant left. "Dad." Her expression shifted. "What did he want?" "To work things out. He wants me to help them reconnect with you." "What did you say?" "Nothing." I deleted it. She nodded slowly. Do you think we should give them another chance?" I looked at my sister, really looked at her. The woman standing in front of me was confident, healthy, genuinely happy. The last year had been hard but transformative for both of us. "I think," I said carefully, "that we spend our whole lives giving them chances. Chances to see us, to value us, to love us the way parents should. They had 28 years with me and 30 with you. They made their choices. Now we get to make ours." "You're right," she said, relief clear in her voice. Sometimes I feel guilty." "I know. But guilt isn't the same as obligation. We don't owe them access to the lives we've built just because they regret losing control over us." Madison smiled. "When did you get so wise?" "Around the time I was gifted a condemned basement and told to be grateful." We both laughed. That night, I sat in my apartment, the one I'd bought and renovated myself, and thought about everything. About the birthday dinner where I'd been given a key to a disaster. About my parents' fury when I'd refused to accept their abuse. About Madison showing up broken and us rebuilding separately together. The best revenge, they say, is living well. But this wasn't about revenge anymore. Maybe it never really was. This was about freedom. About choosing myself. About building something real with my sister instead of competing for scraps of approval from people who were never going to give it. My phone buzzed. It was Madison. "Hey, I'm making dinner. Want to come down? I'm trying that new recipe." I smiled and texted back, "Be right there." As I headed downstairs to the basement apartment, the same one that had started this whole journey, I realized something. My parents had tried to give me nothing, to show me my place in the family hierarchy with a broken, moldy, dangerous space. Instead, they'd given me the push I needed to take control of my life. They'd given me the catalyst to build a real relationship with my sister. They'd given me the clarity to see I didn't need their approval to have worth. That broken basement had been my foundation for something better. Something that was truly mine. And that was worth more than any house they could have given me.